Hey guys, this is Sophia with Sophia Brings Light. Real name is Linda. It is what it is. Welcome to the neighborhood. Won't you be? Won't you be? Please, won't you be my neighbor? And on this channel, I kind of feel like my channel is my book of shadows. And I know people kind of use book of shadows and grimoire interchangeably. But to me, they're a little bit different. My grimoire is really my recipes, things I'm studying, maybe how I do certain things. My book of shadows is what I'm thinking about, going sometimes to the shadow parts of myself. And this channel, I would say, is more, sometimes it's a little bit of my grimoire and maybe some of the things I do, but not everything. But also a part of a book of shadows for me because it's the things I'm thinking about, things that maybe I've received a download about. And I guess in a way, I'm making some of that public. Now, there are some things I won't discuss on here because they're sacred and private to me, but there are some things I will discuss. And being a black woman in America and a black witch, sometimes I have struggled with decolonizing my practice, and my practice is so much intertwined with my life. Also, decolonizing my life. And then I'm getting up there, so I'm 64 years old, and some of the things that comes with being colonized is like almost ingrained in me because this is how I have functioned for the majority of my life. So the decolonizing of my life is a process. Some things I do I'm not even aware of, and I do them, and then I think about that, and I'm like, wow, yeah. But let me talk about how am I trying, not even trying, it's a process and a journey. How am I decolonizing my life? Here are some steps that I am taking, and maybe if they help me help, they will help someone else. One of the things that I have to acknowledge is that I have had a colonized mentality that has been ingrained pretty much since birth. So, one of the things for me was recognizing and acknowledging that. Two was recognizing situations and things, and even in my practice, when they occur. I have to admit, I don't always recognize them at the moment they occur, but if I go back and reflect on something, then it will come to me. Some of that comes with uh, a lot of things that I learned or was taught in Christianity. And so I had to come to a reckoning with Christianity. And if you've seen my channel for a while, you'll know that there is still a Christian influence in my practice, though I don't really call myself a Christian anymore. I will say that there is still a Christian influence in my practice, and that is some of that colonization, if you will. But there were I had some moments in Christianity that there is a little bit of trauma with that. It's nothing that and it was really a come to or a reckoning with certain things after I had kind of taken away that whole, going to church and all that. I don't do that anymore. There are some parts of Christianity that I still appreciate, and they slip into my practice. Like, I do practice hoodoo still, and so I still use parts of the Bible. I feel like they're powerful. They've worked for me for years and years. I use Psalms and those kind of things. But just the control thing, the mindset, you're going to hell if you do wrong. the belief in the devil. I believe that there are negative entities and negative forces around us, but not really that much into the devil kind of thing anymore. But those influences are still a part of me. I am respectful to all people. I try to be, and certainly elderly people, but I also have to have a boundary there, because there are some older people, though I may be respectful to them, especially in my profession, they may not always be respectful to me because of the color of my skin. And so I have to hold a boundary and a line that if I'm respectful to you, you will be that to me. Professionally, I do what I can for them, but I am not over the top with these kind of people anymore. Um, there's, because I'm a nurse, but I'm also a professional, sometimes people want to put me in a subservient um, manner. And I have to maintain my professionalism and take things to a level, but won't go too far with that. So that's in my life. In my practice, I honor what I bring to the table as an African American woman. And I honor the tradition that has been passed down to me, some of the knowledge I gained from family members, and some from, in this modern time, technology, reading, and all of that. I have to be cognizant of my interaction even with other magical practitioners. And it's always a respect thing. If you are respectful of me and what I bring to the table, I am so respectful of you also. Uh, but there are some people that want to approach you in a manner like that sometimes can be condescending. Um, and I do have a problem with that. Who wouldn't? So I think one of the things is I'm more aware of things. I also have to honor my history as I go through this process of decolonizing. So it's important that I honor the history and know my history. Because when you don't know your history, then you can fall into a pattern so easily because you don't know your history. And that's why I think it's important for new practitioners, especially from Black American practitioners, to know your history, to know that a lot of times the slaves brought with them their practices, their spiritual, cultural traditions as much they could. And in order to not be killed or whatever, they had to synchronize their practice in order to live most of the time. So I'm aware of that. And so sometimes even when I'm practicing, when I do hoodoo and such, I have to be aware of how did they think? What did they do here? Because a lot of our practices have been intertwined, or you see things different people bring, but when you really look at the original origin of the practice, you would know that that is not how they would have practiced. That's something that we brought forward, and it's okay to modernize your practice, but I think it's important also to know the original history of your practice. I'll give you an example, like the colors of candles. Well, back in the day, they wouldn't have had maybe as much access to colored candles, so most of the candles that they used were white, or in hoodoo you use what you had because they didn't have a lot of the materials and they used what they had. and still that was very powerful. As in a lot of traditions, uh, dirt was used. One, because it was available, and there is power in the land and dirt. So, dirt was used in things. So, those are just some examples off the top of my head of how I have tried to know my history, acknowledge when um, colonization had slipped through on some things, uh, and being aware of, where I got things from, how, thinking back and taking time to reflect. So that's another important aspect. Being aware, but reflecting on your life and why you do certain things, and taking that back down your family history and being aware where they got that from. And then finally, how I've taken some of this, my own history back, is practicing sometimes in an honor way. I do some spells in honor of my family, of my history, and my tradition in the purest form that I can. Now, my practice is modernized. A lot of things are available to me, and that is okay. But some things I do, like the floor washes, I do. I try to do them very traditionally because uh, it's an honor to what I've learned, where I learned it from my ancestors. So I try to do some things very traditionally, and then I guess it's being grateful for what I have and what I've learned, um, and being grateful to our parts of me. Truth be told, that um, obviously, um, I'm of a mixed descent, 24% Celtic uh, genealogy was found. So I have to acknowledge that that's a part of who I am, um, but be aware of how that may have come to be. It may not have been in the best of circumstances, but being grateful for who I am and why I am here and my purpose in this society, and what I bring to the table and what has been brought to me from ages past, from my ancestors, celebrating who I am as a person, and also celebrating all parts of my mixed heritage, acknowledging that. So those are some of the steps that I've taken, and it has been a journey. I still find myself kind of moving back and forth and learning to settle in. It all comes to the point of accepting me for who I am, for who I have worked hard to be, and acknowledging that this person, this being, this spirit uh, has come here because of what others have maybe even sacrificed to get here, or uh, done the best they could with what they had. I probably went all over the place to get there, but the main part I want to say that this is an ongoing process for me. Recognizing, acknowledging, eliminating, I didn't mention that, but eliminating those thoughts and patterns that keep me from celebrating me as a Black woman, and acknowledging that in my practice. When I go through that circle of loop, I am learning to acknowledge and celebrate who I am. Thank you. That's all for today. Appreciate your being here with me.